Hello viewers, this is Dr. Margaret Makanyengo, or you can call me Dr. Maggie. I have an art name, Auntie Maggie, but that's for another day. I am talking on Duol podcast. Again, today we have a special guest and a special topic where we're going to discuss mental health and social media. I'm sure so many people would be interested in this topic. This podcast has been interviewing a variety of people from different fields, ranging from health to music to art to football and all these things that affect us and affect our mental health. So today the topic is about social media, and I'm going to ask our special guest to introduce herself and then tell us more about her. Karibu.
Thank you so much, Dr. And hi everyone. My name is Deline. I'm a consultant clinical psychologist, and I'm happy to be on this podcast, Duol podcast. So, Dr. thank you so much for having me.
Welcome, welcome. So, Deline, you're going to tell us about, you say you're a clinical psychologist. I know some guys, they ask, who is a clinical psychologist? What do they do? Yeah, so tell us about yourself and your work.
Okay, so by being a clinical psychologist basically means I help people who struggle with mental health issues. I work mostly with children, adolescents, and young adults, and I help them when it comes to issues such as anxiety, depression, and trauma.
Deline, do you get customers? Because I hear there's some people who don't want to see a psychologist because they fear that people will laugh at them and stigma. Are there people who come for your services? Is there a demand?
Yes, the demand is there. I think one of the things I do is I try to humanize the aspect of therapy and make it as humanly possible, because many times when people hear therapy, they think stigma, they think severe mental health issues. So we try to make it as humanly possible. So I like saying therapy can be what you want it to be. So it can be a place where you can seek guidance, a place where you can seek clarity. So it is the client who establishes what therapy would like to be, for them, what therapy should be.
So, Deline, if a couple are fighting in the house, they've been married and they're quarreling every day, they're not talking, and, they wonder where to go for help, are those some of the clients who can reach you?
Yes, absolutely. I work with a diverse range of clients. Of course, clients who experience different mental health issues, but also we work with clients who have marital problems, issues to do with organizational issues also. So it cuts across. We're not only looking at clients who maybe are in hospitals, but also other psychosocial issues like relationships, like work issues, like family issues.
So at the end of it, you're going to tell people the various kind of services that you offer.
Absolutely.
But right now, there's an interesting topic. First of all, tell us about yourself. Why did you decide to come to psychology? Or say not teaching or something else, medicine, whatever. What was so special?
Wow, that's actually a very good question. I always say I bumped into psychology. And the reason I say I bumped into it is because I have a background in pharmacy. And so interacting with people in the pharmacy space when I'm dispensing medication, I would get a lot of clients who would want to talk more about their conditions. And so over time, I found that I had a very good relationship with people, but I felt I still hadn't found my path.
Okay.
So in the midst of that, then when I was shopping for my path and maybe a course to do, I bumped into psychology, and I found out it's something I've actually been doing, and so I just needed to now crown it with the academic papers, and that's how I found myself doing psychology.
Wow. So what you're saying, Deline, is that even pharmacists are in a way doing some kind of psychology in their practice?
Absolutely, yes, I do, because as long as there's any level of human interaction, you find yourself, there's that human connection, people asking questions, be it in terms of medication or their symptoms. So I would say for me that is what informed my purpose to join psychology. I wanted to get to understand more about human behavior and what leads them to behave the way they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm imagining the world with the way it is. If you check the social media and you check the media, I mean, there are crazy things happening. Yeah. What do you think is influencing the behavior of society right now, before we come onto social media?
Wow, there's a lot of things that obviously influence the behavior of society. Some, I call them systemic issues. There have been long-standing psychosocial issues, and everything can affect society's behavior, from politics to family to work, to our interactions. So all these cut across. As long as there's an aspect of interconnectedness or human interaction, then we're obviously bound to experience different forms of issues.
Yeah, because some people say that the economic state is really affecting people, where many people don't have jobs, many people are desperate. Yeah, that could also be a factor, right?
Absolutely, definitely.
Yeah, it's quite a challenge.
Yeah.
So, about today's topic, first of all, tell us about social media.
Wow.
Social media, it sounds exciting, and now there's even AI. I mean, why would social media have anything to do with mental health?
Well, one, social media is very, very broad, but you realize as time goes by, the world is changing and things are also changing. And we say the only thing that is constant is change. And so even with social media, when we look at the last few years, there's different ways that people would get exposure or want to pass information. And we had things like newspapers, we had the mainstream TV, we had the radio, but the world is evolving. And right now we have social media as an outlet to disseminate information, to educate people. And so social media particularly has a very large following. Why? Because of the nature of how it is ideally. It's something that you can navigate at the comfort of your house. And so we realize in the last few years it's gained a lot of popularity, especially when it comes to dissemination of information, but also even marketing, whether it's individual marketing, whether it's marketing your business. Why? Because you don't have to traditionally go to people and tell them this is what I do or this is what I sell. So social media has basically made everything central. You say it's made the world a global village. So
global
everything
village, yes,
has become central. And so if you are to share something on, say, Facebook or Instagram, likely someone who's maybe in the United States, in Japan, they're going to get access to that information. Yes.
I'm wondering how we survived before social media or before mobile phone, because I remember even if you lost a relative or somebody's dad died or mom died, you had to send a telegram, and the process of going to send a telegram and going to collect a telegram, it would take 2 days before you even know that your partner died. And we used to queue on these booths, the old telephone, those many days, before the mobile phone. And information was not flowing as much. I'm just thinking, by the time you write letters, we used to write letters, to friends in, abroad. It would take about 2-3 weeks before somebody... Yeah, there's a big change.
Absolutely.
I think you were not born by then. Okay, so what are some of the let me start with advantages of social media. I know you've talked about marketing. Yeah.
Well, social media has obviously a lot of pros. And one of the things that social media does is dissemination of information. And it's interesting you talk about, the letters that people used to write back then. But we've advanced right now, and do people still write letters? Maybe. But the approach has changed. Why? Because humans also adapt to change, right? And as long as there's that exposure, likely humans are likely to embrace whatever things that come. So marketing is also another thing that can help with, the social media helps with. Dissemination of information, of course, we've talked about that. There's also a level of exposure that sometimes social media brings. Things like branding. social
Yeah.
media also helps with that. Psychoeducation, especially with psychology, you know, right now it's very easy for people to talk about different mental health issues that affect people. If there's something happening in a different country, it's very easy to get that information because of social media, whether it's through writing, you know, whether it's through video calls, whether it's through videos, we see the likes of the reels. So social media really has brought that platform or space where sharing out or putting out information is very easy, and it's also not very tasking compared to some of the previous mediums that were there before.
Now, given that social media has brought in a whole change in global economics, in business, marketing, relationships, and all that, which is the largest age group who actually are using social media? Because that may impact on on the society. Which is the largest age group? Is it wazés? Is it kids? Is it teenagers?
So ideally, the largest age group that is using social media currently, I would say age 18 to around 35 or 40. We obviously have people who are above that who use social media, but when you check the frequency of the usage, it's definitely lower compared to people who are between the ages of 18 and 35. Right.
So how does that affect that particular age group? Now, from the point of view of a psychologist, and you know, because we've talked of positive, and then we're going to go to the negative.
Yes. Okay. How does that affect?
That particular age group. We're looking at teenagers, Gen Zs, millennials. Yeah. How do you think, given that they're the largest number of people who are on social media?
Yeah. One, with every age group, there's an underlying need that is there. There's a particular need. I would imagine an 18-year-old's reason to be on social media is very different from, say, a 40-year-old or a 45-year-old, a 30-year-old. So one, it's driven by the need. What is it that they want to use social media for?
Okay.
Right? Someone possibly in their 40s would want to use social media maybe for marketing, maybe for branding. But an 18-year-old likely would want to use social media to show, to interact with people, one, of course, to form connections, but also because possibly their friend or their, you know, someone from their class is in social media. So it brings to light some level of comparison because of how the dynamics are. When someone, say, posts a photo on social media and they get a certain level of engagement, then likely it's gonna be intriguing for someone. So I would say it's largely dependent on the need and what someone wants to do with social media.
Okay. So we are looking at, depending on the need, viewers, if you're 18, your needs on social media when you're 18 may be different from when you're 40 or 50 or 60 for that matter. So, but the bulk of people are young people who are on social media. So we're going to have a small break before we now go to discuss that we've talked about advantages, but some of the challenges regarding social media. Just a small break. See you in a few minutes.
Remember, it's an open space. If you have your idea, you have your story, whatever you can tell the people, you are always welcomed in this space.
Welcome back, viewers. Deline was giving us a talk on some of the benefits of social media and the number of people who watch social media, their age groups and their needs. So you talked about some of the benefits. I liked it, marketing and connections, networking, etc., and even gathering information. You don't need to go to a large library sometimes to look for information. You find it's available.
Right.
Now, what are the common challenges or disadvantages that our people are facing from social media as a psychologist?
As a psychologist. Now, like anything that, has a good side, also has a bad side. So from a psychological perspective, I'd like us to understand the motive behind posting on social media. Whenever we post something on social media, automatically there's an expectation or an anticipation. So what happens is when you post on social media, whether be it you're looking for a job, you want to hire, you're marketing your items or goods or services, there's an expectation that people will interact or engage with your content. And so it creates what we call a reward-seeking cycle, where you will post on social media and anticipation will creep in. So when the anticipation creeps in, you'll want to keep checking every now and then, is there any engagement? So you're easily getting distracted. Why? Because you're constantly looking, how many likes do I have? How many comments do I have? And in the event that you don't get the number of desired, maybe likes or comments, definitely it's gonna cause a shift internally. It's gonna affect your mood, because you're gonna feel sad or maybe you're gonna feel discouraged. The moment it affects your mood, it's going to interfere with your behavior. Ultimately, there's a perception that will be formed. Why? Because there's a gap. The brain is trying to understand, why are people not engaging with my content? Or why are people not liking? And it's even worse when now you try to look at other people's posts or social media reels and you see there's a high rate of engagement. So that social comparison kicks in. You start now comparing yourself to your peers or to your colleagues, to something else, and now you feel like, what is wrong with me? Why am I not getting the same kind of? So now it starts affecting your confidence or self-esteem. You also now start seeking validation. Why? Because you're trying to now find the loops behind why is such and such content performing well. And so once someone has mastered that, now the content now becomes equal to now the validation. So you're posting not because it's authentic, but now it's performative, because that is the content that is performing well.
So you're saying that you might now tweak your presentation, not to be original or genuine, but something that to try to fit in, to compete with other people, and it may not be even what its natural state. Is
Yes,
it?
Absolutely.
So that pressure can be quite pushing people, isn't it? So that you're stressed, sleepless.
That's true. And so because there's that desire to want to maintain that status,
Yes.
you now find yourself having a lot of pressure, the pressure to perform, the pressure to be perfect. So there's a level of perfectionism that now also creeps in, such that any time before you now post that content, that video, that photo, you really have to scrutinize it so much. And you see nowadays people go to an extent of using now things like filters, and adjustments, thanks to things like AI has come, and such that now when people post their content, whether it's their photos, there's a modification that happens around that. Why? Because of that validation that they get.
Deline, I know several stories where people have posted their features, their faces, and they were not actually the way they actually looked. They used filters so that when you're talking to somebody, you think you're talking to somebody, but when you see them live, it's like a different person. I know of a case where a guy was having a relationship with a lady in the US online, and she had a beautiful face, but that was her real face. But then now she did not expose her whole body. So he travels ultimately now to go and meet her after some years. He's already deeply in love after some months. And he finds the body is totally what he doesn't like. Yeah. Wow.
That's really sad, honestly, because you realize, because of how the society has placed a level of importance on certain physical characteristics. And this is being reinforced by social media.
Social media.
And this is what even brings about the issues of body image and body dysmorphia. Not realizing, because of the need of the need for validation and perfectionism, sadly some go to an extent of now altering, their bodies to fit a certain expectation or standard, and they post it, whether it's through maybe certain procedures or through, the filters we see on social media. And so when someone else sees that, and particularly if this person is viewed as a role model or a figure of authority, then someone somewhere would want to be like that. However, they don't really understand the story that has gone behind that person looking like that on social media.
Yeah. So some people would have to go to such lengths, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and many of us, Deline, you post your photo on your profile photo, but it's not who you are.
Yeah.
Maybe you're browner or you have longer hair. What do you think about that?
Well,
Because somebody gets disappointed now when they meet you and they say you are not as you looked. Yeah.
that definitely tells you the sense of
Self-esteem.
is affected. It's an issue now, the sense of self. Why? Because of that desire to fit in, the desire to validation. And that's what I'm saying. Unfortunately, society plays a huge role when it comes to, standardizing things like the beauty standard and all that. And so many a times we see young people want to conform to, quote unquote, the societal standards, to look a certain way, because that's what is admired, that's what's appreciated, that's what people are chasing, that is what brands are looking to work for.
Okay.
So everyone wants to fit around.
To fit in, yeah. Yeah, that's a real concern. So you were mentioning some of the challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Pressure. You talked about pressure.
Definitely.
You talk about people trying to conform to look like other people, yet they are not their own natural self. Yeah.
Yeah, there's also things now to do with identity confusion. What that means is once there's that desire for validation, then everything revolves around validation. And so now when people post, it stops being I'm posting because I like this content, or it's because it's authentic, or because I'm looking for people to learn, but I'm looking to get or elicit a certain kind of reaction. And when I don't get that, then obviously it interferes with my self-esteem. But when I get that, then I attach my self-worth to the feedback or to the engagement I am getting. And so it becomes very hard to now separate your identity from the validation you get. So your identity becomes now tied around the validation you get. And we see cases where now when social media comes down crumbling, then it becomes now very hard to even know who you are, because likely now in the long run, you find yourself, everything you do now is allied towards what social media will do or
decide,
how people will react.
like how many likes you get.
Absolutely.
And wow, and that's what it makes you now determine where your worth by the number of likes.
Yeah.
It's a problem, isn't it? Yeah.
It's really unfortunate.
Okay, and any other common challenges that we face in social media?
Definitely, there are numerous
challenges,
that
yes.
we face when it comes to social media, from the self-esteem to the identity confusion,
Yes.
the need for validation. We also see cases where sometimes social media now can lead to even drug and substance
Abuse.
Or sometimes we see some of these drugs being glamorized, especially when it comes from the people we admire and the life around it, not knowing that when some of these favorite influencers or brand people, they are actually at work. So some of the behaviors or things they might be exhibiting on social media does not accurately depict what they do behind the camera.
The scenes, yes.
So when we see that, we imagine that this is the life they live, which looks glamorous, constantly, drinking, popping bottles. The Gen Zs call it popping champagne,
okay.
popping bottles, something like that. So we imagine that this is their daily reality. And so we want to find ourselves in that situation also. And so when that doesn't happen, likely because now our sense of self has been affected. As a human being, somehow we have to find ways to cope. So the question is, what ways do people now end up using because of that social media exposure? And some now end up using drugs or substances to numb the pain or to numb the discomfort that they're experiencing based on the feedback that they get on social media.
Okay, so for influencers and people who are so much, many followers, we really have to they have to check their behavior and what kind of presentation they're giving to society.
Yes,
yeah, because anything wrong they do, people want to follow.
It's glamorized.
But anything right they do would be very positive, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you see now for them now they become a figure of authority such that whatever they do, whether it's wrong or right, someone somewhere will relate with that kind of person, And so even things like addiction can result because of social media.
Because of social media and the influencers.
Absolutely.
And,
Look at how some of these, like online games are being glamorized on social media, and the big returns and the big money that, people or some of these brand ambassadors, portray. So I would imagine also when people see that, or when certain crowds see that, they imagine that, this is what happens on a daily. And that's how sadly some find themselves, indulging into addiction. We hear of the aviators. And sadly, if that behavior is not controlled, or if there's no clear information around that, then it becomes hard to separate what's actually real vis-a-vis what's only just marketing.
Marketing. Now, just before we go towards the end, online dating. Right now, it's the in thing. I mean, you open your phone and there are these bachelors from foreign countries, even from local, who are available, who are asking for online relationships. What advice would you give? Because I'm sure many people in the society are so much involved in online relationships.
Okay, so one of the reasons online relationships are very rampant is because we've lost that human touch. It's become very hard to engage in conversations and meet people in real time because it's tasking. But online dating provides the luxury and very low commitment. So you don't constantly have to meet someone. You can simply just, chat
take
them
for tea.
and decide, I'm not going to respond to this and that. And around that, there's a lot of hiding that goes into place. People tend to hide a lot of things. Why? Because someone who lives 5,000 miles away from you, by the time they want to meet you, likely you would have done things here and there to portray the kind of image you want them to have of you. So it has really lowered the level of investment when it comes to emotional connection or that level of connectedness.
Yet real-time relationships, real-time contacts are healthy.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
they're healthy because then you get a feel of the person, right? Yeah, I've heard of a case where there's a foreigner who traveled all the way, in fact, to Kenya. It was in the media. And it turned out that the online date, this lady, was actually, it was kind of a fraud, a front. There were some thugs who were actually aiming to rob him. I think in the end he was murdered. It was actually in the news. Yeah. Those are some of the risks, criminals involved in...
Absolutely. Criminals disguise themselves. We hear cases of trafficking.
Child trafficking.
People, disguising themselves. And because they know one of the easiest ways to do that is through looking for affection.
Yes.
People out here are looking for love. Looking for care. So when there's a need for that, when there's a gap, many times when someone is deprived of that affection or love, likely the first person who shows them affection or attention, they're going to fall prey.
And many people look for love. And it's nice to be loved, Deline.
It is.
it's nice to also love.
Absolutely.
So again, we really sympathize with the society because everybody wants to be loved.
Yes.
Everyone wants to love, you know. So they capitalize on the needs of people.
Absolutely, on the vulnerability of people, they do that.
Yeah, so viewers, even for those of us doing online dating, please, you have to take care and be careful. And I think at some point you will have to advise this online dating. Do they try to meet the person real time, or what kind of advice would you give on online?
I think one, it's important to do your needs assessment. By that I mean, because as I said, some of these criminals, they tap onto the already existing vulnerabilities. So by the time you're going on that online platform or online dating, it's important that you go there with, you know, a clear mind, but also be on the lookout. If anything feels uncomfortable, or nowadays we call them red flags, it's important that you do not ignore that intuition. It's important that you don't ignore. So you can either clarify, and especially if you have doubts, if you're dating someone online and you have doubts, ask them to, if you're on video, ask them to stand up so that you can see them, so that eventually you don't end up meeting, you know, someone and you guys disagree. It's important to just go that extra mile to do your due diligence. And nowadays, thanks to social media, Daktari, on this topic, nowadays it's very easy to get information about someone anywhere in the world.
Online.
Yes, online. So just go online or on social media. Likely there's a trace of everyone, you know, or at least someone. So it's very easy nowadays to get information about you. So I would say do your due diligence when it comes to anybody and anyone you're chatting with or talking to, or even having video calls with on online.
Yeah, then as now you're soon going to give your parting shot, please say something about AI.
About AI.
AI, I heard you talk before about AI psychosis, AI mental illness. Wow, what is that?
Wow. AI is one of those big giants, if I can call them that, that is here with us now. And we either have to embrace it or not, or learn how to work around it. And AI is here to stay. There's obviously so many things that AI does, from giving us information. Nowadays we see people using it as, you know, in place of Google, but there's the ethical use of AI. Because realize, even with AI is programmed by, you know, just human beings, and it's bound to have errors. But over-reliance on AI should and can be a concern. Why? Because some of these AI platforms, you realize how they've been programmed, they've not been programmed in a way that they're able to spot some of the issues that someone might be experiencing. And there is a disadvantage, because AI gives you output based on what you feed it. So likely it's not going to capture your behavior, it's not going to capture your interaction, it's only going to use information based on what you give it. So sometimes it can be misleading. And you know, Dr. here is talking about AI psychosis. Basically, because of over-reliance of AI, sadly someone may find themselves losing reality because of AI-related incidences, where everything now revolves around AI. They lose touch with reality, or they feel like they are I know of a case where there's someone who had programmed AI to be a dating partner.
Oh.
And they were dating the AI. You know, you can make, nowadays you see, it's very easy to make AI your assistant, and you can program it in a way that it acts or behaves as you or someone you want.
Yes.
So we see cases where people are dating AI assistants or even AIs, and when they don't get the level of satisfaction or fulfillment they have, of course it can tamper with the brain, and that can lead to different mental
illnesses. Wow. I think that needs its own topic, yeah, that AI. Yes, so there are some questions that viewers are asking. As someone who uses social media every day, I sometimes don't realize it's affecting my mood. How can an ordinary person notice when social media is affecting your health?
One, there's all these things we call warning signs. By the time your mood is affected, there's a level of discomfort, you know, that comes as a result of that. One, for example, if you use social media every day, likely there's certain outcomes that you're always looking for. And when you don't get those outcomes or those, solutions or perceptions you're looking at, it's going to affect how you view or how you think about social media. And we have the mind-body connection. Once it affects your thought, it will manifest through your body. You'll start being anxious, your mood is going to be affected, possibly you start experiencing other lack of sleep. So your body will always warn you first. Your body will always warn you first.
Another one, I find myself comparing my life to what I see online. Wow. Even when I know it's not real. Is this something you've experienced too, and how do you personally deal with it?
Wow, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
Allow me to answer that question this way. The reason is, you see, this person is talking about logic and emotions. We have what we call the logical brain and the emotional brain. When you're going through any level of stress, most of the time the emotional brain is gonna win, even when the logical brain knows this is not right. And likely it leans towards the emotional brain. Why? Because it's comfortable. It's the default. Yes.
Wow. So how did you handle it in this particular case? Yeah.
Okay. So in that case where you find yourself, comparing, it's important, one, to challenge those thoughts, separate facts from feelings, and especially always look out for evidence. What evidence supports how I'm feeling, or what evidence supports what I'm thinking? Always lean back to evidence so that you're able to distinguish between thoughts and feelings. That's where you're able to see what is real
Reality.
and what is not real. And also look at it this way. Many a times people will post what appears glamorous. Rarely do people post their struggles and their challenges.
Yes, so it gives a very fake kind of picture.
Very unbalanced. Absolutely.
Now, when social media is both helpful and harmful, how do we know when to take a break without feeling like we are missing it? Yeah.
One, how you know you need to take a break. The moment you start second-guessing yourself, that's a sign. Sadly, most of the time people wait for confirmation when the body is already responding to the negativity. But the moment you start second-guessing, should I post this picture? What will happen if I don't? That is a sign. Take that as a sign to step back. Maybe not entirely, but take a step back and analyze.
And analyze. Okay. I think there's one or two last ones. How can the youths use social media to heal, learn, and grow instead of harming themselves? And many youth are listening.
Oh, wow. That's very interesting. There are very many ways the youth can learn. It's important that you identify what scope or what areas are you looking to learn. We have a lot of people who talk about different topics, from entrepreneurship to psychology to business. Find one that resonates with you. And in psychology, we say when it comes to gathering tools and resources for coping, try out different things until you find that which works for you.
Okay.
So the same case, seek out for different people who talk about your topics of interest and get to see who do you relate to more.
To relate to more. And I think the last two, how does social media affect anxiety, depression, or loneliness?
Wow. Social media affects or can affect anxiety. If you already have a pre-existing issue or condition like anxiety and depression, social media in this case can act as a trigger, or it can reinforce the already existing symptoms based on different angles. If you are feeling sad or you have feelings of sadness and you get into social media and you find a topic that mimics what you're going through, likely it's going to reinforce the sadness that you're already experiencing.
Yes.
You could get into social media also and get triggered because of something that affects how you feel or how you mood or even your perception. So it can amplify the already existing symptoms, or it can trigger.
But you can also use positive social media to help, improve your symptoms.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's some sites that and groups who actually
Definitely
provide
nowadays-
support, online groups,
Yes.
mental health groups.
Absolutely. Through social media also we have different support groups
Yes.
that, just right now when you go and Google, support groups, it will give you a myriad of
many,
lists
yeah.
to choose from. So it's only important that now you filter out what works for you or what would work for you.
As part of your parting shot,
Right.
what will you say to somebody who's overwhelmed with social media right now? It's overwhelmed, They don't explain exactly how, but
Yeah. Now, overwhelm, take that as a sign or a signal. That is your body giving you information. So, that is your body telling you that it needs
break.
something to be done or it needs a break. So, take that as information. Because likely what will happen if you'll find yourself wanting to overstretch the body as you're trying to deal with the overwhelming feelings. But what we'll be doing, the body has already reached its maximum or capacity. It cannot take in anymore. And when you force it to take in more, what you're going to do, you're going to have what we call a mental breakdown or an emotional breakdown. So take that as a sign to step back, reevaluate. If you have a support system, of course, it's important that you also explore that. But I would say anybody experiencing feelings of overwhelm as a result of using social media, take that as a huge, huge sign to actually step back.
Step back.
Yeah.
So viewers, we've learned a lot from Deline today. The positive aspects of social media and the negative aspects of social media. And also we have to be careful on issues like online dating, AI, and such. I personally remember I read of a case in the US where AI instructed a young boy how to handle his suicidal feelings and instructed and guided him towards committing suicide. And it's only later on that the parents checked through his messages and found that that was guided. And I think as a result, AI, they had to make some adjustments in the algorithms for people who are seeking to commit suicide or seeking crazy issues. So we are learning a lot. And we have Deline here who will give you her contact, because some of you may want to know where to seek help or where to seek more information. Deline, can you share with us your contact, and would you like us to share that contact on the screen?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, you can share.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Dr. Chari, for having me. It has been very insightful. And this is one of those topics that are very, very close to my heart. Why? Because I also use social media a lot.
We also use.
Absolutely, we use social
Yes.
media a lot because when it comes to putting out content there. And our aim is to psychoeducate as many people as possible on the importance of just taking care of their mental health. So you can find me on Instagram as Deline the Psychologist. That's where I post most of my videos. But if you'd like to reach out to me, my number is 0718 979 291. Feel free to reach out to me, and let's walk with you in your mental health journey.
Okay, viewers, so thank you very much. I hope we're going to put the number on the screen. And welcome again to the next podcast show, which will be on Tuesday next week at 8 p.m. Thank you.